it was a practice that started first before any parts were written. Sometimes the sonatas were provided with string parts or flute parts, for example, by the composer. Sometimes they were added before publication by the publisher to make them more marketable. And
excuse me, Don. Could you move over just a little bit so that people here are able to hear you? Maybe. That would be great.
And so it was a way to sell more music, essentially. A lot of these pieces, though, the instrumental parts don't appear in the score, and they were published and sold separately. So sometimes they'll make reference in the title page to having a violin part or a cello part, but there isn't one that we can find. So, but then also there are times when there is no reference. For example, as a long extension from the Baroque period, the cello became married to the keyboard instrument through classical practice. So sometimes there were works published for ad libitum violin part and no mention of a cello, but there is a cello part or a presumption of one. So it's a very messy kind of practice. But essentially, what it was a way to allow dilettantes to participate in music. And the practice is, ad libitum is side by side with a term called obbligato. So at the end of the Baroque period, obbligato meant there was a part written and you must play it. And that tended to be true through the classical period as well. Ad libitum was a little more shaky. In the Baroque period, it kind of meant you're supposed to play, but you make up what you play. In the classical era, it was inserted into music at moments where you were supposed to take liberty, but you were to play what was written. So the practice evolved from being entirely improvised to rather either free in its application or free in its interpretation. And so the works that we're doing today kind of represent that. The first one that we're doing is by Pleyel. Pleyel was famous in his day as a virtuoso pianist. He was also he was the true entrepreneur. He was a music publisher. He published Beethoven. He was a publisher in Paris. He was a composer. He was a concert musician. He was a pedagogue. He wrote several works for teaching purposes and exercises. And he was also a piano builder. And the firm of Pleyel became quite prominent. It was the favorite piano of Chopin in the next generation after Pleyel himself. This work is, I'm shaking. I think it's a sonata for clavecin, either harpsichord or piano, which was something they did also sell more copies. So you can play it on harpsichord or piano, and it has accompaniment with violin and cello. My score doesn't have the parts, but if I were to play it as a solo sonata, it has violin cues in it if I wanted to play those instead of the right hand. In this case, Miriam's doing that labor, and I'm actually accompanying them. We kind of trade off. So this isn't strictly a superfluous string parts, but is rather nice music. I think you'll enjoy. This is Sonata in D major of Pleyel.
anyways, some of you may not know who we are. My name is Don Livingston. This is Laura Handler on the cello, and Miriam Schultz-Carlson on the violin, who is now going to play for us Steibelt, with me, the Daniel Steibelt Sonata in G major. Steibelt he was a virtuoso in his day. He was a contemporary of Beethoven, and there's a famous story. There's a famous story about Steibelt and engaging. They used to have house parties like this. In fact, you know, a majority of music was introduced to the world in events maybe bigger than this, but maybe not, in people's homes. And in fact, there's a funny thing I learned not too long ago that when did Schubert die? 1828?
Yes.
1828. So in 1827, somebody put the bug in Schubert's ear that he should have a public concert and sell tickets and actually make money instead of lose money on his performances, because up until then all of his premieres of his own chamber music and things were done in people's in homes. Granted, there were nice homes, but nonetheless there were people's homes, and he was not making any money on them. So there was this new novel idea about getting a concert hall and selling tickets and actually making money on the enterprise. So he did it once, and it was such a great success, he thought, man, that's great, I'm going to do it again next year, and then he died. So, but the interesting thing about it was that even as late as Schubert, the idea of doing music in a concert hall or recital hall was just not part of the norm. At an event kind of like this, they used to have these competitions, these showdowns, kind of the American, or the European Idol, the Austrian Idol, the Viennese Idol. They would have these showdowns between virtuoso players. They'd have a big party, and they'd come out one at a time, and they would improvise, and sometimes someone would submit a tune, and they would play, and do a comparison to see who wins. And Steibelt was a star. He was dashing and handsome and very popular in his day. And there was a competition between himself and Beethoven. And there's different accounts for the competition between the two. One of them is that they were submitted the tune. From Mozart. Papageno. From Mozart. And Beethoven outshone him, and he walked away while Beethoven was playing, in utter humiliation, and would never return to Vienna again. We know that he never returned to Vienna again. The other account of the story is that they were both playing on this concert, and Beethoven upped the ante by taking the score of Steibelt's music, I think it was a cello sonata, and turned it upside down, and used the upside down material, you know, one of those fabled stories, you know, did a fantastic improvisation, and then once again Steibelt left in humiliation with his tail between his legs and never returned to Vienna.
Yeah, no matter which version of the
Yeah, whichever version he was humiliated. But I think you'll find, nonetheless, that maybe coming in second place isn't so bad when first place is Beethoven. So we're going to do this is an obbligato sonata, so it is in fact for violin, indispensable violin, and may well have had a cello play as well, but we don't know that.
Oh.
Now we're going to add 3 people to the mix. Sarah Thompson on bass and Jennifer Kalika on viola. And we're going to do the Hummel. Yes.
Tell us about the instrument.
Oh yes, I will.
Thank you.
So we're going to play the Hummel Quintet for piano, violin, viola, cello, bass. And it's a curious combination of instruments. There's really only about a handful of pieces written for it. There's nothing ad lib or obligato about this. This is a straightforward quintet. Kind of late in the period. The piano that I'm playing is actually a copy-ish of 1790-ish, 1791-ish Walter, Viennese builder. The works that we're playing actually post-date this piano by a bit, and with the exception of the Pleyel, everything else that we do actually calls for a bigger piano. And so I'm kind of editing the right hand because it doesn't fit on the keyboard. It's right at that period of time that the piano keyboard expanded from about 5 octaves to 6.5 in about a 35-year period between 1790 and 1825 or so. And so this is during that growth period where pianos got bigger and the ensembles they played with did too. And so I'm going to do my best against this crowd with the piano I've got. The piano belongs to Bruce Jacobs.
Could you say just a couple of words about the instruments and the bows that the string players use?
I'm sure one of them can.
Because they're not all modern instruments.
Right. Why don't you say something?
Well, got strings. We're tuned to 430 rather than 440.
Yeah, we're flat if you have a good...
Which means we're halfway between A and A flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of us are using transitional bows, so they're somewhere between a Baroque bow and a modern bow. This is a Baroque bow.
Yeah, you can see the pointy point arrow tip, and that
more
one's...
like the shape of a modern bow, but not weighted quite the same way.
All gut strings, no steel.
And most of our bows are most of them are facsimiles. Am I right? Does anyone have an original bow? But so my base is from about 1840. It's not actually that old. I mean, I play it with Baroque music, but it's not that old. And I know some of you have. Laura, I don't know how old your cello is.
My cello's an 1810, and the biggest difference between this and a modern cello is I don't use an end pin, so you don't have the metal spike coming out of the bottom, and I just hold it with my legs.
I'm really missing my chin rest on this program.
Yeah, so the shoulder bows, they don't use chin rests.
Or shoulder rest.
Shoulder rests, I mean.
Yeah, nothing. Either one. Naked.
Naked. Tuning-wise, are you different than a modern bass?
Oh yeah, they were a little more freeform about how they tune their instruments. There were 3-string basses, there were 5-string. So I actually tuned my low string just to get an extra depth of note. There was Viennese tuning and there's a lot of different kinds of tunings. It wasn't a set.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other trivia?
You're pedaling with your knee.
Pedaling with my knee. Yes, I pedal with my knee. I pedal upward, not downward.
It looks pretty weird, but it feels completely normal.
It does. Yeah, you just don't think about it when you're doing it. And this was about the time when pedals became the standard. English pianos got them first, late 18th century. They were kind of on the legs. There was a pedal on each leg, so you kind of pedal this way. And then they became stemmed in the Vienna, so Viennese piano. And they grew many pedals, up to 5 or 6, depending on what it is, what kind of stunt you wanted it to do.
But you made such great use of the damper. You should talk about that difference with the modern.
Oh yeah. So just to say, the piano that we call this thing that I'm playing right here, we call in the 21st century, we call it a forte piano, which is an invented word, invented in the 20th century to have a word to call those instruments to distinguish them from modern pianos, which are called pianoforte, right?
So the piano, started out, its name is piano forte, it means soft and loud. Their big advantage wasn't to play loud. This instrument isn't very loud, as you can tell. Their advantage was that you could play soft. And that was very fashionable at this transitional period. Harpsichords got big and they got kind of loud, and the only thing they could do was play that volume. So their novelty was that you could shade dynamics and you could play soft. And they found all kinds of ways to play soft. They were interested in that. With the interest to expand the keyboard and the sound became prevalent, the instrument got bigger. But the stunts for making it play softer did not. The thing that we call a modern piano called an una corda pedal, for those of you familiar, you push a pedal and it shifts the hammers over. And on a modern piano, it shifts it over so that on the part of the piano that's strung 3 strings only strikes 2. But in that day, it really did mean 1 string. So it shifted the hammers all the way over to hit just 1 string to make it as thin and light as possible. And what did you say?
Well, you just said wonderful things with this damper, which is different.
Yeah. So the damper. So if you were to look inside here, it's a very simple machine, really. There's a device that we don't have on a modern piano, and that's what we on this piano is called a damper. And what it does is it shifts. You lift a pedal with your other knee. The sustain pedal is, as would be on the right-hand side, is with your right knee. So, like that, or without. The damper also is on the left, like on a modern piano, but on this piano, what it does is it shifts a piece of felt between the hammer and the string. So you can get super, super quiet. Or, if you have a little, that's piano. So actually our instruments are kind of misnamed. The modern piano should be called the forte, not the piano, and this should be called the piano, but such is the accident of history. This is Hummel, Opus 87 Quintet. Super, super challenging, so have some more
Bear
wine.
with us, yeah, right.
No, I don't. Tune? One word about this before we begin. I picked the music, and it's kind of beastly hard, and it's in E flat minor, and so the whole thing starts on G flat. And strings players just hate that.
What we like the piece.
Okay, but yeah, they love the music anyway, so.
And they love you.
Enjoy
Yeah.
this. just going to interject that for some reason, this next movement is called a minuet. So the very last thing on the program, is an aria from, this is a true classical aria, back a few years to Mozart. And this is an aria from La Clemenza di Tito. Our lovely soprano is Kathleen Humphrey. And a little bit about the kind of ad-lib part of this particular tune. The aria is actually written as kind of a duet between the soprano and the clarinet. And there is a clarinet. And so I'm kind of playing the clarinet part on piano. And then they'll play the strings. And Kathleen will tell us something about the piano.
This opera was written in 1791. It was a commission to celebrate the coronation in Prague of the Emperor Leopold II to become the King of Bohemia. At this point, Mozart had not even finished the Magic Flute, and he was also engaged to write the Requiem. But somehow he managed to write and perform this within 18 days of the commission. 3 weeks after its premiere, the Magic Flute was brought out in Vienna, and then 9 weeks later, Mozart died. So, in this opera, I play a young man. The trouser roles were often sung by women. And in this opera, Vitalia is in love with Titus, but he has his eyes on someone else. So she plots to have his demise. She makes a conspiracy against Titus. And she lures Sextus, who is my character, to help her with that, because Sextus is madly in love with Vitalia. So he agrees to kill Titus, even though he's his best friend. And basically, what he is saying is, I go, I leave, but you, my love, please make peace with me. I will be whatever you please. I will do whatever you like. Look at me, just look at me, and I will forget everything. And to avenge you, I will fly. I will think of your glance alone. And then he says to the gods, what power you have given to beauty.
So that concludes the musical bit. If you would like to support continuation of these kinds of events, there is a jar for your contribution by the door, and on the table, is there a cheesecake? Okay, so there's a cake. There's a cheesecake, a cake to be served now. So I hope you enjoyed it and keep us in mind when we do it again. And I'm going to talk about
But the other thing was I did weddings your secretary. Okay, go type in IMSLP.org and step by step and print it. Oh, yeah. Anyways, he did find it. Yeah. Got it printed. You're right. I know. Before you could print it. Well, we just had to get to it.
Or we just had it. Great program. Congratulations.
Okay.
I wish more of this could. But, I mean, I just,
He finished at 5:30.
That was the longest part of the trip.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Took over a half hour, because I had to take breaks, you know. I think running just slower. It started in the
student
Tell me about it.
sure, yeah.
Wow.
It ended up being kind of skip back over.
That's right.
Are you really?
Are you tired of being my slave today? My slave today. Hey, she made all this mess. But I made it, and I said, here's all the parts put together. She did. It was awesome. You did fantastic. You're on the hook next time. You know who I'm calling. I just make the cheesecake and I made all this. I just stopped it. I added an avocado. I bestowed on her a degree. Something about, what was it, didn't have a college degree or something like that, and something.
That's the unoffered food. And it's just fills our conscious they're all the time. After eating it all.
Do they give you tough it out?
Well, it's better than the first time I did it, they did it for liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
That hurt so bad. I loved it until I got home.
Oh, it's still in the camera.
I kind of cried for years, but I actually cried. And I told her that.
Well, we were very.
Oh, I won. It's more permanent. It takes longer. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah, and they were rebuilding the Motherfield Hall. Oh, to be a fun. Yeah. It was really cool. And there was a lady who was, I assume she was there as part of the society, but she was not dressed as possible. She was suspended. I looked at her and was like, okay, I know it's not really.
There's so many scandals. I was
Crying.
my son jokes.
She was not in class.
Biopic
You can make so much money.
And this is the makeup for it. I said, Gorbachev looked like he had career. I look like I've got
They're all there in their the styles, right? The fabrics are like this is fine. And they're like standing there with their chicken tonics.
Well, I did right when I
And the barista was just like
started.
oh,
It's only 3 weeks. I finished it a little
I took a picture of what they
Unfortunately, hat season is here.
Hat season is well, and there's some events I don't mind.
she's just saying, Sarah,
I went down to part-time job. But I went down to Europe and everybody even for the style of Norman is the only blue spot in the red state. And they actually have 60 orders. You better punch up on your head.
oh yeah, oh, it's just,
Yeah. We're rolling. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. How was that? No, they were like that. Oh, really? Yeah. A lot of short and some of my cousins are farmers anyway. They came to France in the feed gaps. Well, I was there. Yeah, that's what we let me do. This is a cruise cap. That's a cruise cap. Yes, this is the Caribbean. Yes. You probably have one too. No, I don't have one. My first. Yeah. I just worked very well. You did? Yeah, I got off. Yeah. I saw one. I got rid of one line. But he had me in every show. Yeah, that was of course. And I've done that to or back printed porcelain, not butt printed. Shoe buckles. Yes, yeah. Oh, the person. That was just like one day. There's a 5 or 6. No, they're like 50. But that was just one of them. No, that's one. Sorry. I know on the ball. It was down there.
use it. I know.
He's